And so it's like, I knew what he did, he knew what I did. And that's the one thing that, if you really take a big step back on it, if you have relationships with a lot of key people in your industry, or in different industries that are similar to yours, you're going to do so much better.
Your business's success depends on relationships, relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Ponto. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Rob Bedell. Rob is an accomplished business strategist and fractional sales vice president who excels in transforming organizational dynamics through targeted conversations and actionable insights. With a rich history of guiding businesses and business owners overwhelmed by operational challenges, Bedell draws upon his extensive experience to streamline sales processes and enhance profitability, particularly within the manufacturing sector. He employs innovative tools such as Catapult AI to demystify key performance indicators, thereby fostering a more efficient and effective sales environment. His mission centers on liberating entrepreneurs from the burdens of daily management, empowering them to realize their aspirations with a robust foundation for generational wealth. Bedell's extensive experience encompasses roles at various organizations, including his tenure as an independent consultant and leadership positions at notable companies, which reflect his dedication to facilitating business success through strategic vision and execution. Congrats on liberating entrepreneurs from the burdens of daily management, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Karl.
So I love that line about liberating entrepreneurs from the burdens of daily management. And I imagine a lot of those burdens keep people from building the key relationship it takes to make their business successful. So how do you help them get past those burdens?
Oh, and that's a challenge. And it's funny because I'm working with a few clients right now on exactly that. Especially entrepreneurs, especially when they first start out, they have to do everything. It's their business. They feel like they need to be doing everything. But you get to a certain point to where, and I use this line on a regular basis with entrepreneurs and business owners, like, you're doing things below your pay grade. What you need to do is to have a mind dump out all the things that you need to do, all the things you're doing on a regular basis, and say, is this something that I can pay someone $10 an hour? Is this something I can outsource to somebody else to do? And a lot of times when I do this with entrepreneurs, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing a lot of this stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And once they have all that off their plate, then they can look to build those relationships. And really, business is about relationships, regardless of how you want to put it, whether you're talking about operations, whether you're talking about finance, whether you're talking about sales and marketing. When you focus on relationships, it makes business so much easier for everyone involved.
Yeah, it makes total sense that if they're busy doing the back end paperwork and data entry and stuff like that, if they're supposed to be the face of the business, that is not the most effective use of their time. So, especially when it comes to the sales environment and the sales process, I know a lot of entrepreneurs kind of shy away from the sales. They don't really like the sales process. It has kind of a bad rap. But how do you help them understand that if they're focused on the relationship side, not the transactional side, it's more, at least palatable, if not also just more effective?
And the whole thing is, I always explain it this way. I'm a sales guy. I've always been a sales guy. Sales has an S on it. That's plural. That's not a 4-letter word. That's a 5-letter word. Sale, doing anything to get that one sale at any cost, yes, that can be a 4-letter word. We're past those days. We're well past those days. Those days ended in the 90s, early aughts at the latest. Now it's all about building relationships. I worked with an insurance inspection company, father-son team that had the best thing in the industry. They're around for 40 plus years, couldn't break $1 million. I sat down with them. I said, why should people do business with you? They said, well, there's time, service, and quality. I'm like, all right. Went out and talked to their 3 best clients. I asked them some questions. Found out instead of time, service, and quality, it was all about customer service and communication. And again, that communication, the relationships, is being able to have those relationships with their customers. It made all the difference in the world. And I was able to build relationships with some of the top insurance companies in the country took them from a regional company to a national company, growing them 400% over 8 years. And it wasn't about my sales skills. It was about building the relationships, having other people say, I know I can rely on these people and I can go to them at any time and they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to email me right back. And it's all about the relationship.
So you said you helped them go from local to national, and it was a 400% growth
over 8 years.
Wow. And it just, yeah. And again, I think, especially for entrepreneurs, and although I know I was just reading a LinkedIn post this morning about how bigger companies do this, especially like startups, they think they know, they assume to know why people buy from them or what their clients' pain points are, instead of asking them. And so they either miss out on product market fit, or they don't really understand why their best clients buy from them. And so it makes their marketing and their sales processes much less effective, because they're focusing on things that they think people care about, instead of actually listening to what their clients care about and focusing on that. So it sounds like it seems like, I'm sure in hindsight, an easy fix is just to ask your clients why they actually bought from you. And that seems to go in a line with the communication and relationship building process that you promote.
Well, and it's not even why they buy from me. I have them go out and ask their 3 best clients 3 questions. What value did they bring that they expected? What value did they bring that they didn't expect? What's the best thing about working with them? The first 2 are just loss leaders. It's that third one that's the hook. That inspection company, they're like time, service, and quality. I went and asked our clients those questions. They're like, in this industry, insurance, there's always problems. And when there are problems, we know we can call and email them. They'll find out what happened, who's involved, and how to make sure it doesn't happen again, and get back to us in 24 to 48 hours. I was like, that sounds like good customer service and communication. Once we got the relationship out and realized it's all about customer service and communication, that next year they grew 26%, year after that 63%. Because we were speaking to the market in the market's voice. We were building those relationships and establishing that by talking. And it's so funny because the best business advice I ever got, and we have short time, so I won't tell you the backstories. Yeah, it's not about you, it's about them. And if you're understanding how to build a relationship and you're just talking about you, have you ever been on the date with somebody who just talks about themselves the whole time?
It gets boring really fast.
Yeah, do you even want to talk to that person again? No, because you haven't built a relationship with them. And it's the same thing. Business can be really simple if you build the right relationships. Excuse me.
It makes a lot of sense, that because I think people get all wrapped up in what the business does and all the operational stuff and all the things around the relationships, that they lose track of that core human to human aspect of it, especially as a small business owner. If you're the face of the business, people are often buying because of like you said, the relationship with you, not because of necessarily the business itself. And so if someone is trying to kind of get out of the habit of talking about what they think their employee or their audience wants, and how do you get them to kind of get that first step towards building the relationships as the focus?
Well, first of all, do that exercise. Go ask those 3 questions to your 3 best clients. And second, going into the whole thing about how can I help them? It's not about me. How can I help them? How can I make their job easier? What can I do that's going to make their business a lot better? Ease up on some of the aches and pains that they have. How can we build a collaborative relationships that's going to benefit us both? And some of the best clients I ever got out of was from somebody that I never did business with, but I had a good relationship with them. And so they referred people to me all the time. And, and I'd refer people to them, but we never did business one-on-one together. Since we had that relationship, we were, it worked for both of us.
I think referrals I love referrals for that very reason, because there's that transfer of trust between the person giving the referral and the person who's receiving it. And I've often told people that it's someone who works in marketing and creating marketing content. I have no hesitation in saying that a referral from someone you trust is going to be way more effective than any piece of marketing content your company can put out saying how awesome you are, how great any sort of claim you make about your business or your services or yourselves is going to be dwarfed in comparison by the effectiveness of someone that your audience trusts saying, hey, I trust this person, you should work with them.
Yeah.
No matter what. Yeah. It's not even a contest. So when it comes to getting those best clients, having referrals makes it way easier to start the relationships further down that know, like, trust relationship kind of pathway.
Yeah, and it really goes into, I was just having this conversation the other day with some people about, mixers and going out with people. And one of the things I told them is don't talk about yourself. Go there with a partner. You talk about what they do. They talk about what you do.
Yeah.
So, and it's so funny because I had someone walk up to me and said, well, I guess I got to talk to you about my sales because you're the expert. And I was just like, and I never spoke to this person before, but my partner sat there and said, oh, if you need sales, go talk to Rob. And so therefore, but I had a relationship with him. And so it's like, I knew what he did. He knew what I did. And that's the one thing that if you really take a big step back on it, if you have relationships with a lot of key people in your industry or in different industries that are similar to yours, you're going to do so much better.
And I think it also helps that when you work on strengthening those relationships, getting those to be stronger than just a surface level, because so many people, they'll meet someone at a mixer, or they'll be in a Zoom meeting together and they'll see the potential, but they won't take the time or effort to build that relationship stronger, or they'll expect someone else to make the first move and give them something. And where if you are more proactive with the giving and start making connections for people, or start contributing to those the buckets, the way I taught it was thinking about, like, each relationship has a bucket, and if you want to take stuff out of the bucket, you got to add stuff to it first. So if you don't make these deposits to the relationships by giving, then you can't expect people to send you anything. So it can be a lot easier to focus on a few key referral relationships that are able to send you what you're looking for than do a bunch of cold outreach or trying to transactionally reach out to potential customers or clients.
Yes. I mean, it needs to be a mix of both, but the key thing that I think, hopefully everyone takes away from today is focus on the relationships first, then focus on, everything else after. You can, but if you have the right relationships and you invest time in, as you just said, you invest time into that, it pays off dividend. I mean, it pays off more than you can understand.
And it's something that I think the relationship part, treating people as a person first, or seeing it as a relationship, as a human being, before you see him as a prospect or a client or a sale, goes a long way. Because even if you're not talking about the sale in a conversation, but you still see him as a prospect, the way you talk, to what you focus, I guess there's the interaction is going to be different, and people can tell that's what you're trying to lead it to. Whereas if you go into it with, I'm trying to connect with a person as a human being and build a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, that is going to influence your behavior, the sort of conversations you have, and people can tell, especially these days, they're so used to being sold to, or people kind of preparing them to be sold to, that they pick up on those kind of the scripts or the lines or the trying to, like, gauge for interest in a sale sort of thing, and that turns people off really quickly when they realize, oh, you're just trying to sell me something.
Well, and a lot of times, some people in your audience may say, but I don't know if I'm doing this or not. And I'll tell you a clear indication of knowing if you're building a relationship or if you're doing something else. Have you ever been on those calls when you get off and an hour and a half went by and you're like, how the heck did that happen? That's building a relationship, because you're just having a conversation. It's just a natural flow back and forth. And then you're on those calls where it's like 15 minutes and it seemed like the longest 15 minutes of your life. That's not building a relationship. So if you're constantly on those 15-minute calls, sit there and say, okay, what can I do to invest in the relationship and have that 15 minutes turn into an hour and a half before I even realize it's that long.
And a lot of times it has the key to that I found is to be, if you're talking about things that have nothing to do with the business side of things and just about the personal lives and relationships and their like activities and just normal human to human conversations, it helps build that common bond and help you learn more about the person as a person, not just as a business relationship or a connection, in air quotes there, because especially with all the social media use of the term, connection is almost worthless now. It's about a relationship, not just a connection, because it's easy to connect, but there's not a whole lot of deep relationships being built, especially in the business world.
Yeah, I agree.
So when people are starting off, you mentioned that there's a certain point when entrepreneurs need to start delegating to kind of make sure they're not doing work below their pay grade. What are some of the indicators people should look for? What are some of the signs that they can, if they notice these, go, okay, now it's time to start making this transition? Because I imagine there's some pitfalls if you do it too early, or besides just like the monetary stuff, but like, when's a good sign that, what can people like look for that they go, oh, I have these 3 things, I need to start delegating? What's some of the signs to look for?
There's one key word phrase that you need to, if you hear yourself saying this all the time, then you know you need to stop and back up. I don't have time. I'm too busy. I don't have time to talk to you. I'm too busy. I can't. If you're at capacity, then you're probably doing more than you need to be doing. You're doing things below your pay grade. So that's when you need to stop, take a step back, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever times are not your busy times, because there's some businesses that are busy on Saturdays and Sundays. Do a brain dump. Do this, do a checklist throughout your whole week. Every time you're doing it, write what you did, the length of time that it took, what you did, what length of time that we did. And then when you take a look at that at the end of the week, you said that, yeah, but this is someone I can pay $10 an hour to that can do this. This isn't anything that's proprietary that I need to be personally involved with it. And then you need to be able to have those people to hand that off to. And you may need to make the investment in, and it could be a virtual assistant. A lot of times, a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, are doing that now, finding very, very, very good success with that. And it's a great way to do it. It's like, okay, this is something that if I am entering information into the database to input an order, anyone can input their order. Now, getting to find out their needs and everything, that might be what you need to be involved with, because that's customer interaction. But can you teach somebody else that? Do you bring salespeople on? What do you need to do? And some of that is just really again, doing the brain dump, getting all the information, what you do, how long it takes. And it's pretty funny watching people do this, because they're like, once they did it, they're like, yeah, I see about 3 hours a day that I could hand to somebody else that I don't need to be doing. And then once they get those 3 hours back, then they can sit. And sometimes it freaks them out, because they're like, I have time. It's like, okay, now you have time to go out and find those relationships and find the companies and businesses that you want to build relationships with.
It is funny how weird it feels for them to have free time and not be constantly under pressure to get something else done. And I imagine that does wonders for kind of their like stress levels and mental health and the work-life balance and all the things that plague a lot of entrepreneurs that are stuck in that solopreneur mode, because that staying in that kind of always on is just not healthy or sustainable. And so it's not just a matter of, well, it'll make your business more successful, but it'll make it so you don't burn out and can keep doing the work you're doing, which is, for people at that stage, something they're really passionate about and care about a lot, and enjoy at the moment, but it can quickly become a slog or a grind that is not something that they enjoy anymore.
Well, and they need to understand that it doesn't need to happen all at once. You don't need to, okay, I'm dumping all the, it's like, no, little baby steps. Okay, here's one thing that I can hand off to someone. Okay, here's another thing. just a little step at a time. And then, in a matter of a couple of weeks, you're like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, now I just freed up a bunch of time. So you don't have to do it all at once. You can take, okay, what's the one thing? And if you can think about this for the next week, what's the one thing that I do that takes up half an hour of my time that I could hand to somebody else? And
Awesome.
if you just focus on that every 2 weeks, what's the one thing that you can do to hand off to somebody else? By the end of the quarter, you'll have the free time. You'll be able to focus on building relationships with other people that are going to grow your business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Rob. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Rob, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.